One of the tankiest warframes in the game just got an upgrade, and he's even more tanky now. And more everything. His role got significantly expanded with a bunch of useful abilities, as well as improved energy management. But what does that mean for him? He's definitely more likely to appeal to more players, so let's digest all the reasons why. For one, he became way more tanky than before. He can only eat 5 enemies at a time, which is a nerf, but we get 250 armor per each enemy. And that's not all with armor. Augment for his first ability adds another 150 armor per enemy in your belly. That's 2000 extra armor. With 3 Umbra mods, that's easily over 90% damage reduction on a frame that has close to 4000 hit points. All that with 0 energy costs over time, since it no longer costs any energy to keep enemies inside your belly. On top of that, his second ability and his third give absurd amount of healing. And if that wasn't enough, Grendel still has the lowest amount of shields in the game, making him one of the best frames for Shieldgate. To put it bluntly, it can be a challenge to get down this Grendel. But Grendel got way more utility. His toxin buff got turned into viral, which is huge. And he got more ways to strip armor. His third ability has area of effect armor strip when you're jumping around, as an armadillo, but his fourth ability strips even more armor, in a smaller area, to any enemies unlucky enough to get hit by their ally that's wrapped in Grendel's digestive juices. He still keeps his ball, armadillo mode is buffed and heals a lot, and strips armor. His vomit projectile is now his ult, and it forces a huge toxin proc on top of easily removing all the armor. While all that may sound like a lot, I will try to process that into a couple of roles I can see him being good at. One, it's of course a flat out tank for you to mess around with almost no risk of ever getting into a bleed out. Even if you don't use abilities, his effective HP pool alongside Shieldgate and Grace will make sure you endure it all. But if you want to spice it up, adding viral damage to your weapons is huge for our builds. Especially with Condition Overload and Galvanized mods that work the same way. And you can see how this affects our builds. Building for some other elementals gives you more than just flat damage buff for Grendel. Like for example using your Felarks with Radiation plus Cold and buffing that with Viral. But this gets better. Grendel's fourth ability forces Toxin proc, and with Archon Continuity, that also forces Corrosive status. That's 3 different elementals from one frame. Viral, Corrosive, and Toxin. Sarin is the only one who does that, and coincidentally, it was Pablo who reworked both of them. A coincidence, I presume. But 3 different procs on top of full armor strip is very strong, and there's no denying that. I tried it against Demolis, and it's a charm. Build I run looks like this. 3 Umbra mods, Adaptation, Rage, Archon Continuity, Gourmand, Augment, and Prime Sure-Footed. Since I like Mobilize, that's how I combined it. If you fit Prime Sure-Footed in an Exila slot, then using something like Augur Reach to aid his range and Shieldgate is extremely potent. Arcane Grace is kinda there from the old build. It helps me use less healing, but I may not keep it. Arcane Avenger, however, stays. Since you can take the pounding, it means a permanent critical chance buff to all your weapons. While I do have Umbra form on this, it's not needed. You can use lower rank Adaptation and Rage with little to no drawbacks. Rank 0 Adaptation still caps out at 90%, just has lower duration, which does not matter on Grendel since you are neck deep, stuck between the enemies. While his fourth ability deals quite a considerable amount of damage, its range is quite limited. It can easily clap Steel Path enemies, but only has a range of an explosive weapon, which is pretty good, just not Sarin level range. Also, launching enemies outside the tile one-shots them. If you can swallow it, you can one-shot it, regardless of enemy levels. Enemies you regurgitate count as weapon projectiles, so usual things that affect projectiles affect them. That might be a route to re-explore with all the possibilities. But to me, as someone who has played Grendel quite a bit, even before this rework, I think this is good. Only thing that I don't like about this is viral retaliation on his second ability that punishes enemies who hit you. 10 viral procs for no player activity is kinda broken and for no reason. But overall he's pretty capable now. Regurgitate is super strong on its own, but on top of it, it sets enemies up to get destroyed by your weapons. Apart from being god tier tanky, he's a high level primer and debuffer now, so you can have your cake and eat it too. Just make sure Lich doesn't grab you while you're in an armadillo mode, then this might happen.